Hey, this is Al from Fashion Studio 7 Magazine, and tonight I am flanked by, to my left and to my right, by some amazing people here in the GTA. We're going to talk about some serious things, but we're going to be lighthearted as well. We're going to be talking about the mystery of black dating. We're going to see if we come and resolve some of the questions that are floating out there, misconceptions and truths. Are black men really abandoning ship? Are black women harder to deal with? First of all, we're going to start off with our sponsors of this fine, fantastic panel discussion. We have Savannah Family Clothing. They're located up at 40 Finmar Drive up in North York, Ontario. They have everything you want: pasta makers, clothes, shoes. One of the largest independent private department stores in Canada. Check them out. We also have Savvy's Restaurant, and that is a Caribbean and international cuisine. Check them out there in Markham, up on 5780 Shepherd Avenue East. And you guys, check out this restaurant because it's really good. They have some really good food up there if you like Caribbean with fine dining. What women don't like fine dining, right? And what guys don't want to pay for it. What guys don't want to pay for it, man. So let's start this one right now. Now, let's introduce our guests. On the far left, we have with us a 21-year-old journalism student at the University of Toronto. She's a writer for the Toronto Observer newspaper, Fashion Studio 7 magazine. Along with her work as a journalist, she is also an aspiring novelist who has written 2 novels. Very good. She is from Nigerian descent and has spent most of her life in parts of Europe. We have with us Jane. Help me with your last name.
Yarrow.
Yarrow, I like that. And next to Jane, we have a spiritual life coach, film and TV actor. She has a passion for life and all that it has to offer. And I've been dying to meet this lady for the longest time.
I know.
We have with Ingrid Hart.
Thank you.
And next to Jane, we have a spiritual life coach, film and TV actor. She has a passion for life and all that it has to offer. We have Ingrid Hart.
Thank you.
Hello, nice to have you, Ingrid.
Thank you.
Next to Ingrid, we have a popular Ontario residential realtor, entrepreneur, and actor. You may have seen her in a lot of small on TV and commercials all over the place now. She has a book out, and this is an incredible book, and she was on Oprah. And she has garnered stellar reviews and even led to an appearance on Oprah. To be more than just a dime, a guide for beautiful women and girls to be a beautiful life and world. Odine Eccleston. Now, congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
That's really, really good. And next to, we have Colleen Taft. Now, this lady is hilarious, energetic, passionate performer, actor, writer, comedian. And I've seen you on stage. Motivational speaker, and one of the nicest persons I've ever met, Colleen Taft.
Thank you.
On the far left, we have a talented man in his own right. Actor, spoken word, artist, writer, businessman. Let my people go. Al St. Louis. We'll talk about Let My People Go a little bit later. Next to Al, we have a talented young man, an expert in multimedia, spoken word artist, an accomplished artist, creative and director for Fashion Studio 7 magazine, and I share a desk right next to him every single day. It's Kishan, good-looking man, Kenton over here. He's more than an MC. He's one of the finest voices around. He's MC'd at some of the best venues in Toronto. Berlin Club, the Phoenix Concert Theatre, the Bamboo, the Government. He drummed for an amazing band called Cross Colors. He works right now at the Toronto Catholic School Board as a supervisor and a coach. We have with us HBO Anson Blackburn. Yeah, all right. We see him everywhere we go covering events. So that's what we got. We covering events. We run across them all the time. Now, one of my favorites right here, gentleman on news, on TV. He's an award-winning broadcaster and journalist, 3-time Golden Glove champion, author of 3 best-selling books, 3-time selling book, Out of the Darkness. You can hear him on Friday mornings. Tomorrow morning, tune into 640 Radio with John Oakley's Roundtable. We have Mr. Spider Jones. Okay, you guys, so here's what we want to do today. We want to talk about some of the problems that may be occurring within the black community in terms of dating. Now, it crosses the board of every single culture. So it's just not the black community that is facing this, it's every community. Now, what I want to ask the guys right here, in terms of dating, what are some of the biggest problems you guys are facing? Now, some of these guys are attached, some are single. He's been married Spider's been married for 37 years.
Doesn't mean I don't date.
Hopefully your wife.
Hopefully his wife.
That's how me and my wife get.
Old school, all right. Okay, tell me, so what are some of the things going out there as a single black man? What are you facing?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with maybe that fairy tale that maybe some of the girls are envisioning, right? And so if you don't come across with that type of image, that fairy tale, then you have a harder road to travel, right? So I think maybe it might be that thing that women envision their first encounter with a man to be, and maybe you don't live up to that, and then that's that.
So the expectations are way too high.
Yeah.
All right, Kashan, what are you seeing out there?
I think, for me personally, I guess when it comes to trying to look for a woman, especially in Toronto, my age, I'm 27, and especially when I was kind of out there looking, there was a little bit of, in Toronto, high school and stuff like that, even into college, there's a little bit of that, I guess, that ghetto attitude that I didn't really resonate with too much. And it seems like I was surrounded with quite a bit of that when I was out there in the public. I mean, at church, it was a little bit of a different story. But that's kind of like what I found, I was running into a lot.
So who's the ghetto? The girls?
Yeah, I mean, the girls that I was looking at, all right, they had that.
Short shorts? Don't look at the short shorts, it's going to blind you, man. Okay, now you have a salon. And I know you're a well-spoken individual, and people like to tell you, share the problems with you, men and women. So tell me, from the guy's perspective, what are guys out there, what are they complaining about?
Geez, I don't even know if I have enough time. I'm complaining about a lot. I think what it boils down to is just a misunderstanding from the women. I think what's happening is that, from what I'm hearing, okay, is that the women aren't really seeing what the guys are seeing. They're not seeing what's happening on the same levels. They're on the same field, but they're playing for different teams. Even though they want to play for the same team, they seem to be playing for different teams. It seems like the guy has this one agenda and the girl has the other agenda. HBO said it. There's a fairy tale. Mm-hmm. There's a fairy tale, and we got to keep it real. We were all fed the fairy tale. Mm-hmm. Once upon a time and happily ever after.
Correct.
But the meat and the potatoes of it.
Reality is,
we've never really been taught. I just want to get to it. Let's just get to it. I had a conversation with a young lady one time, and we were just talking about relationships and the struggles that happen in relationships. And my point to her was, how can I love my black woman wholeheartedly if I don't love myself wholeheartedly? I can't get into a relationship and love you if I really don't know what it is to really love you, because I've never really learned how to love myself. My father was never there to really teach me how to really love a woman. Mm-hmm. He never loved my mom. I mean, for the first few moments, let's call it, first couple of minutes, then I was conceived, but then after that, it's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, though, because a lot of my guy friends, I was fortunate enough to grow up with a father, but I can't 100% honestly say that with my father being there, that he was actually, that daddy figure. There were other males that I actually looked to for many, many, many years, and it's only been recently, in the past, few years, that I've actually, looked at my dad as daddy, as father. And I think a lot of us guys we're missing that particular connection, that individual that kind of teaches us to be a gentleman, to be a father, to be this, to be that. And I think also that kind of leads us to look in places where we shouldn't be. In the beginning, I talked about that whole I guess looking at the quote unquote ghetto type girls, but that's where I was looking. I was probably looking in the wrong place, and that's because really, I guess for me, I wasn't really shown 100%. Hey, this is what a woman is. These are the characteristics that you should be looking to. So I just basically looked where my friends looked, and
we all looked at the same place, right? Which is television and
that's right.
Books,
yeah.
And we looked for the shell of the woman and not the soul of the woman.
Yeah, I think we're all battling
let's talk with Spider right now. Spider grew up in a different generation now. TV was different. TV was different. Black and white.
Yeah.
All right, black and white. And if you want to change the TV, you got to go up to it, turn it, go back, turn it up. Am I correct?
Yeah, I came from it was a different generation, but we you know, back then, as a young black man, we didn't. You watch TV all day. You didn't have any black role models unless you had Amos and Andy or Beulah. I mean, so we didn't have that. But I think when you look at today's young men, there is you are being consumed by commercialism first of all, and it's telling you what to be. And if you don't dress like this or act like this, then you ain't cool. I remember reading an article on Tupac Shakur, who I still believe is one of the greatest poets of all time. Made some bad choices. That's why he's dead early. It's the choice of the punks you want to hang with, like Suge Knight, but that's a different story. I want to get into the fact that he said, how can a boy learn to be a man without a daddy to teach him? To be a real man. I saw my father love my mother for all the years that I grew up. I was fortunate. We lived in the projects, but I had a father. So I learned from my father how to treat my woman, and he treated my mother with respect. And I think today, too, a lot of young men, I mean, it's tough out there. You get a class lady, and you got to go on a date, man, and that date costs money. Now, we're going to Dutch treat it? How are you going to ask a woman? How are you going to ask that woman? Now, look, we're going to go to? Are we going to go to Burger King, or are we going to go down to a nice place downtown over a candlelit? Because that's what I like to do, and that costs money. And so, I mean, I don't know. Is it Dutch treat today? You tell me.
Okay, let's hold it back now because good points. Now, when it comes over to the ladies now, okay? I heard a little bit of what the men are growing up, what they've heard. Okay, now, Colleen, let's take it from you right in there. Tell me from the women's perspective, what's going on out there?
You know, I totally commend the men because I think that they've hit it on the nail, right? Unfortunately, especially in the black population, coming from historically, we really... Men don't know how to be husbands, how to be, fathers because of the absence of fathers. And so women traditionally have stepped in and played that role of man and woman. And so, we've got our roles all confused. Women think that we need to be, bow beaten and tough it up, sucker and right? And the reality is that's not what our role should be. We're meant to be covered, we're meant to be sheltered, we're meant to be taken care of. And so, but at times we, historically we haven't been allowed that role. And so as a result of absent, fathers and the breakup of marriage and, nowadays people don't want to be committed. We lived in this instantaneous world. We need it now, And people don't want to spend the time to get to know someone, to be committed to a relationship. Like for me, I always say, you know what, forget about love, because I think if I'm with someone long enough, love will come. I'm looking for someone who'll be committed to the process. Just like a child. You have a child, you birth a child, you love them, but every day, because of your commitment to being a parent, that love continues to grow. And if people would just learn to stay still long enough to be committed to figuring out what it is that person has, or, we go through the rough spots, and rough spots are really good. Because when I'm going through to get to the peak, I got to go through the valley. And so I love a rough spot. I love when we have to struggle and figure it out. Because at the end of it, we're going to turn out to make something beautiful. We're going to be able to climb that mountain together. But the reality is, we just don't have enough time. We don't want enough time. We want a BBM message. I'm guilty of that. I send him a message, he don't reply back, I got attitude. What's taking him so long? I'm at work, baby. I'm at work. I don't care if you at work. Answer my BBM. And it's like, I can't even wait for him to give me an answer before I'm down his throat, and he's like, I gotta make a good example. I can't, so we're too fast. We want instantaneous rush of stuff, and it's feeding us. And working in mental health, we've seen that. We've looked at the brain chart of young people nowadays, and we realize that there's a lack of judgment. Because our brains are not processing. Everything is so instantaneous. It's like an overflow of endorphins in our brains, so that we don't have enough time to just process.
So that instant gratification, man.
Instant gratification.
I want my pop. I want it now.
I
want breakfast now. I want to go and get my.
She didn't talk to me. On to the next girl. He didn't talk to me. On to the next. Like, it's like, relax. Like, let's just try to get to know each other.
Be mellow. Okay, Odine, tell me what's out there. You wrote a book, and it's get up to the bestseller type of chart. So what's going on with your friends, yourself, and...
Yeah, no, I think for my generation in general, where the problems arise in terms of lack of long-lasting relationships, Mr. Al St. Louis, I'm going to reiterate on one of his points. I think it stems from a fundamental lack of self-love. Mm-hmm. It's like first of all, a lot of young people, they don't even know who they are, right? So so when they meet people, they have to know who they are, and then they figure out where they want to go. So it's, so it's like incongruent timing too. Some women mature faster and they're ready for commitment, but then the person that they've met and that they like, a lot of them, they have years ahead of them until they're going to be like ready mentally even to take on responsibilities of being in a committed relationship. I also think another issue is that I find among my peers is that there are a lot of options. In Spiders, I guess, in your generation, you met someone, you fell in love, and I think you had even mentioned, like in an arranged marriage situations, you're in that to win it, and you're sort of forced into that union, and there's no option of getting out. Nowadays, with the internet and stuff, you have a girlfriend, but on Facebook, you're seeing 20 other, I'm speaking from a young man's perspective, they're seeing hundreds of other like tempting, attractive women. So we have that factor that wasn't there before as well. So it takes a lot more even discipline for people to stay committed, because there's exponentially more temptation as well.
Yeah, there's much more choices in there.
Yeah.
You flick a switch, there it is, man. We have dating lines, we have chats, we have everything. Facebook. Ingrid, you're a life coach. So people come up to you and must talk to you about, my love, the lack of fulfillment in terms of relationship. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'll speak from my experience first. I was married to a beautiful black man. The year 2000. When I met him, I was like, I'm marrying him. He was everything. He was like a combination of my brothers. This beautiful skin, tall, and he was just like beautiful. And then I realized, there's a lot to experience, and when you live in Toronto, you're exposed to so many different cultures. So when our relationship ended, I eventually dated outside my race, and I was like, wow, there is so much to learn dating someone from Portugal. The language is different, the food is different, the customs are different. You meet their family, and it's like, how do I operate, So it's like, being married to my husband, I saw myself vividly, because it's what I knew. That's what my brothers look like, that's what my aunties and my uncles, they look like my husband, right? Then, after, you grow out of that, and then you grow into, I want to explore what, Asian culture is like, what Native culture is like, and the newness, the idea of learning new things, now, fast forward years later, I'm dating someone from Bulgaria. And let me tell you, it's blowing my mind, the things that I'm learning about myself, because I'm still seeing myself through him, So that's just to talk about, outside of the race, how you grow just as a person, how you grow to learn more and hear more and eat different things, and growth is good, right? And just to the other point of women's vision and their fairy tale, fairy tales are fun. Listen, we all have a fairy tale. This is the coach, my last point to this. This is the coach talking now. You have a fairy tale in mind. Maybe you haven't even whispered it to someone, but you have a plan. And you're like, you know what? If my life was perfect, it would be like this. Just focus on that, and focus on it in detail, because guess what? You adjust your mind, you adjust your belief system, and what you believe to be true of your own capabilities, it will start to unfold.
So in other words, open your window, open up your broader perspective on things.
Tap into your fairy tale. Yeah,
fairy tale.
And if the fairy tale that comes to you is out of your reach, that's fine. What's for you will come for you.
From that perspective over here, when we start hearing about fairy tales, sometimes from these guys' perspective, it's like, I'm afraid. When we hear a girl's fairy tale, can we match up to that?
Match up to your own fairy tale.
What is a fairy tale different than a fantasy then?
Neither one of them
I think so.
I'm trying to be real here. I'm just trying to, differ between the two, because I started dating my wife. I fantasized about her. I liked what I saw, and I fantasized, and it just made me want to be around her more.
Yes.
Maybe this should be an embellishment of dating outside your race. But I don't think we're trying to discuss about dating. Trying to discuss about dating outside your race and how that is a great thing. We're trying to repair what is damaged in our community, right? The fact that we've had, and I was listening to the guys, the fact that we've had bad examples, right? We've had bad examples, and that has been disastrous for where we are right now. And the fact that, as you said, the women are taking on this bravado role, which is out of their element, out of their natural element, and I think that is something that is maybe repelling some of the guys, right? And that is a big issue.
We're going to come back to that because that's really important there, H. Okay, youngest person on the panel, 21 years old.
Are we sitting according to age? Let me know.
No, I'm trying to think about it. No, they break it off over there. That was over here somewhere.
I'll be over there.
I'll be over there. No. You're 21 years old. Now, Jane, what are you seeing right now? Your friends, your university student. Is love still in the air for you, or what's going on out there?
Well, for me as a black woman, I prefer dating white guys. Sorry. I feel that I used to live in Jenna Finch, a lot of black guys. I went to an urban school, lived in an urban area, and I'm sorry to say, but black men don't appreciate black women. That's what I think physically. If they see a black woman, they want her to be lighter. That's what I found when I went to school in Johnson. They wanted her to be a certain way. They didn't appreciate her assets, her big lips, and certain assets. But white guys compliment me all the time. They love the way I look. I have a friend who is really, really dark. She goes to the University of Toronto, Georgia Brown, and she's as dark as her pants. And she has a nice, radiant, shiny skin tone. She's never dated a black guy because they don't appreciate. They want a light girl, but she's only dated white guys, and they love her color. And that's what I find when I walk through the subway. I constantly have white guys saying, "You're gorgeous." Black guys feel intimidated. I'm sorry.
I think you're gorgeous.
But
I do too.
I think that what she's speaking about, though, stems back to what I said about a fundamental lack of self-love. And I do find what she's saying to be absolutely correct with a lot of my own peers, like a lot of my guy friends, too. I don't think they even consciously realize it, but they, too, have preferences that are outside of their race. And I think that it stems because of their own self-esteem issues and their own opinions of themselves, and vice versa. I see that there is quite an epidemic of beautiful black women that are deliberately choosing to date outside of their race, and I think that it's what you think becomes true. So they're thinking, you said you don't think that black men are appreciating your features, but you just heard them say that you're beautiful, right? But a lot of people, they're just assuming based on a few like ignoramuses that this is the case. So then they don't want to get hurt, and so they close themselves off to even the idea of being with a black man, and then, there's nothing wrong with it, but then they decide on only white men.
Yeah. Can I say, I believe that they are complimenting you. It could be that maybe you're just not catching their mode of communication, and maybe you're just at this time you're just receiving another mode, because I know this. This is my brother. This is my brother. You're my brother as well. I've known you, and I know that you appreciate beautiful black women because.
Can I be your brother too?
I know.
I want to be your brother too. She's fine.
These are my
I want to be your brother too.
Two gentlemen specifically.
I'm half Bulgarian.
And exactly, they are out there, but there is, especially you're 21, right?
Yeah.
I do know because I have my sister. I have little sisters and brothers, and just even people even my age. I see because of the hip hop culture that they're even led by. Unfortunately, you're right. I think they're going. Perhaps it's just a phase where, yes, they do put. I find too. Other race of women, like the Kim Kardashians per se, on a higher pedestal than beautiful women such as.
Again, that is part of the commercialism we've been bombarded with today. But I know growing up in the Detroit area that back in the day there was so much racism among blacks of different shades of different. The ones that I had, even in my family, I didn't have the straight hair, but a couple of my brothers and sisters did, and they got treated better. There was always this perspective that the lighter you are, the more attractive you were to to other blacks. We went through that big time in the 50s and 60s.
Well, I'll tell you what.
And it's still there.
The realness is, and men, let's be real about this. If we had, let's call it 10, no, let's just call it 2. 2 women in this room. We had a black woman here, we had a white woman here, okay? We would treat the black woman differently than we would treat the white woman. And if she was white, Asian, whatever it is, we would treat each one differently. And that's from our own cultural makeup, from our own upbringing.
Is it kind of like the whole? Sorry, is it kind of like the whole family complex too, where you would, let's say, treat your brothers and sisters a little bit different? Where, let's say, I started doing it more and more for my mom. You know, where you kind of just go and open the door, you just do like these little things for her. You know, if she's in your family, right, you're not going to necessarily do it.
Familiarity breeds contentment. So
Yeah.
if I'm familiar with you, I'm not necessarily going to roll out the 9s.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering.
We got to talk. We'll come back. We got to take a message from our sponsors over there. We'll be right back, and we'll talk more about our women, more complicated, and we have content. Are we too familiar? We'll be right back.